Introduction: Capacitive touch sensor without touch using capacitive touch sensor TTP223 are known to use an electric field. Capacitive sensor able to detect touch or proximity. The sensor would start the sense a hand or body inches away. Theory: Capacitance is directly proportional to the area and inversely proportional to the distance. Electrode represent one of the plates of capacitor. When a pointer, finger or stylus approaches two metal plates, the mutual capacitance between the plates decreases as the finger steals some electric field lines. Here is the diagram. As you can see here. On the other hand, the self-capacitance of both conductors increases since in this case the pointer acts as an additional conductor of the system. The difference between inductive and capacitive. First, inductive capacitive sensor use an electric field which to be sensed by an inductive sensor and object must be conductive. This limits the suitable targets to the metal object. On the other hand, to be sensed by capacitive sensor, the target doesn't need to be conductive. A capacitive sensor will react to an object acting as a dielectric material as well as conductive object. This will make the metal and non-metal objects suitable targets.
So right now we are arriving to the hardware part where we explain the electrics components used in this project, how often do we use the component, how many electric components do we include in this project, and many more. Here we are evaluating, troubleshooting and explaining how the hardware meets up with expected outcome discussed in the beginning of the project. So as you can see on the screen, there is a few electric components that have been arranged, which is a USB that connect Arduino with the external devices, and one of them is a computer, a breadboard that comes with a definition of a thin plastic board used to connect electric components, transistor, resistor chips, and etc. And then we have LED. The colors that have been chosen is green. The next electric component is a resistor, which the value is 1 mega ohm. That start with a brown color, green, black, and gold. And the last component is Arduino Nano. For the size of Arduino Nano, it may be smaller than the others, but now widely used in industrial projects. So for the first step, just put the Arduino Nano on the center of the breadboard. Make sure the installation of the Arduino is as tight as possible to avoid undetected pin under the breadboard, because you don't know how deep the pin was, so we need to be careful. Then take the green LED, connect both of the leg to the Arduino D3 and ground pin. Since the LED has the poles, make sure the anode are connected to the ground and cathode to pin D3. And then take the resistor, connect the leg to pin 4 and pin 3 Arduino Nano. Since resistor doesn't have any poles, feel free to connect the LED on pin 3 or pin 4, or maybe vice versa. And then take a jumper and connect the jumper to pin 4 Arduino, or maybe parallel with the resistor. And if you do not want the direct connection between the leg of LED or resistor to pin Arduino, you can just add the jumper between them as the diagram that you are seeing right now. So for the result, when we touch the jumper, the LED will turn on, and we keep turning on until our finger are no longer touch the jumper.
Hello all, I'm Auni. I will explain the coding of this project. Before that, we must know the value of the capacitor from the body. We use this coding is to know the value when touching the wire and not touching the wire. Okay, as we can see, when touching the wire, the value is higher, around 300, but when not touching the wire, the value is dropped around 120. Next, here is the coding after we know the value of capacitance from the body. After we know what the value of the two is, we have to find the average for two value, which is when touching the wire and not touching the wire. So the value of when touching the wire is around 300, and the value when not touching the wire is about 120. So the average is 200. The value of 200 is threshold value. The threshold is an error rate about which the operating system shut down the computer system on the assumption that a hardware failure has occurred. So integer threshold equal to 100 and integer LED pin equal 3. Then serial dot begin 9600 is the bound rate of this project. LED pin is high where sensor value is higher than threshold, and LED pin is low when sensor value is less than threshold.
Expected outcome from this project is the LED light will light up when human's finger touch the jumper wirely. When the human fingers does not touch the jumper wirely and the LED does not light up. At this point, students can relate with theory, which is the human's finger have a dielectric. Dielectric is a material possessing insulating properties. It is a substance that has ability to transmit electric force without conduction. The finger does not need to be between the plates to influence the dielectric characteristic because the capacitor electric field extends into the surrounding environment. When there is a contact with the surface of the touch sensor, the circuit is closed inside the sensor and there is a flow of current. When the contact is released, the circuit is open and no current flows.
A touch sensor is an electronic sensor used in detecting and recording physical touch. Also known as tactile sensor, it's a small, simple, low-cost sensor made to replace all mechanical switch we've seen in the past. A touch sensor works like a switch, where when there contact, touch or pressure on the surface of a touch sensor, it opens up an electrical circuit and allows current to flow through it. Capacitive touch sensor measures touch based on electrical disturbance from a change in capacitance. It consists of an electrode film on top of the glass panel that conductively coats with a printed circuit pattern around the outer viewing area. Besides using TTP223 touch sensor, we can also replace it with a plate metal or tip of a jumper wire as long as it conductor.